Hello friends, so I'm back for the part 3 of the our biography on Samudra Gupta. In this part we would be looking at the Second Āryavarta War and the personality of Samudra Gupta. In the past two sections or two parts we had seen about Samudra Gupta's early life, coronation, and the first Aryavarta War. And in part two, we had looked at the southern campaigns of Samudragupta. So this one would be solely be dedicated to the second Aryavarta War, the philosophy behind Samudragupta's wars, and we would conclude it. This part we will conclude with the personality of Samudragupta as per the Prayagraj pillar inscription. So start with the quote first, and this is from the Prayagraj inscription. Who, being full of compassion, had a tender heart that could be won over simply by devotion and obedience, who was the giver of many hundreds of thousands of cows. So this is what Harisena talks about Samudragupta in the Prayagraj pillar inscription. Now, this is the Prayagraj pillar inscription, Prayagraj pillar, in fact, which has the inscription of Samudragupta. The the photo is taken in around 1930s or 1920s or so. And this, as indicated or as told earlier in the last part, this has the full details on Samudragupta's wars and his personality, etc. So, whatever I am going to describe in this part would be solely based on this particular inscription. So, the second Aryavarta War is dated anytime between 346 to 348 CE, and it would look at why 348 CE and why not after that. So this the list of kings whom Samudragupta defeated has been mentioned in the line 21 of the Prayagraj pillar, and these are Rudradeva, Matila, Nagadatta, Chandravarma, Ganapati Naga, Nagasena, Achyuta, Nandi, and Balavarman. So these nine kings are mentioned, and if you could remember the first part, we had looked at three kings whom Samudragupta annihilated or exterminated in the first Aryavarta war. One was Nagasena, another was Achyuta, and the third one was an unnamed king of the Kota Kula or Kota dynasty. And those three and these nine would make it 12 kings of North India who were exterminated by Samudragupta, and their kingdoms were annexed by the Gupta emperor. So 12 kings of the south, which we had discussed last time, and 9 kings of the north. So total 21 kings Samudragupta fought and defeated. And the interesting thing about all these kings were very, I mean, their extent of their kingdoms were very small, and they may have formed a confederation in order to oppose Samudragupta, but Samudragupta's might uh, exterminated them. They were either killed in battle or were exiled, and their areas were annexed by Samudragupta. There is also another point which says that all these kings were actually part of Gupta Empire earlier. And while Samudragupta was in his campaign in the south, these kings rebelled, and Samudragupta had to quickly move towards north uh, and exterminate these kings. So there was a possibility of some kind of a rebellion taking place while Samudragupta was in south. So this is another point of view. So Dandekar states that Rudradeva, he mentions him as as a brother to Prithvi Sena I, who was the Vakataka king. Now, you would remember that Vakatakas were the allies of Gupta Empire, but not during the time of Samudra Gupta. The time of Samudra Gupta, they were competing for areas and expanded themselves everywhere. I mean, Vakatakas were ruling modern day Maharashtra, Konkan, and parts of Karnataka, and parts of central India as well. And Samudragupta, during his campaign, destroyed this or exterminated this king called Rudradeva, if Dandekar is right. And please remember that this Prithvisena is the father of Rudrasimha II, the Vakataka king in about 380 CE. And Rudrasimha II married the daughter or the granddaughter of Samudragupta, or the daughter of Chandragupta Vikramaditya. So, in the times of Samudragupta, the relations between these two powers were hostile, but slowly, or because of Samudragupta's prowess and might, and even the might of his son, Vakatakas may have become an ally and were in friendly relations with Gupta Empire, and slowly they became kind of a client state of Gupta Empire in about 400 CE. So this is also one point of interest regarding this uh, Second Āryavarta War. And this Rudradeva, if Dandekar is right, I am repeating it again. If Rudradeva is the brother of Prithvisena, then Rudradeva was ruling the parts of Madhya Pradesh or Malwa uh, in about 348 CE. So that would date the Second Āryavarta War, which happened in about between any time between 346, and the last date is about 348 CE. And after the conclusion of the wars, this is what Gupta Empire looked like. And these areas in orange, they were conquered by Samudragupta. You could see all the areas of Punjab till Bengal and Assam and down to the south. But the areas of south, they were not under the direct rule of Samudragupta. They were conquered, but they were given back their independence. So Samudragupta conquered all these areas. The green areas which you are looking on the left side of your map, which sorry, consist of areas of modern Sindh and Gujarat. They were conquered by Samudragupta's son, Chandragupta Vikramaditya. So we had also the subsidiary states. Now these were the states which were client kingdoms of Samudragupta. Samudragupta did not send any armies to conquer these areas, but as per the Allahabad or Prayagraj inscription, they themselves presented themselves in front of the Gupta emperor, and made themselves a part of the Gupta empire. And these include republican states as well as monarchies. So we have Arjunayas. Arjunayas is mentioned in this Alexander's campaigns. Aglasoi, what the Greeks called them then. Then you have Yahudayas. Yahudayas were ruling. Their capital was modern day Hisar in Haryana, and their patron god was god Skanda or Kartikeya, who is the firstborn of Shiva. And both Arjunayas and Yayudhayas were very militaristic states. We have Kartipura. Kartipura is identified as modern day Uttarakhand, especially the areas of uh, especially Uttarakhand area, which included uh, all the hilly states there. We have Nepal, which is mentioned as a client state. Please remember that Nepal, which was ruled by the Lichavis, were the maternal relatives of Samudra Gupta. Samudra Gupta calls himself Lichavi Dohitra, or the maternal son of Lichavis. So Nepal also came under Samudragupta's influence. We have forest tribes called Atavika, which are mentioned. Island of Sinhala. So we have this king of Sinhala, Meghavarman, in fact, Meghavarman, who ruled between 350 to about 380 CE, and he sent across an embassy to Samudragupta asking for his permission to build a Buddhist monastery at Bodh Gaya, where Buddha had gained enlightenment, and Samudragupta allowed that. So, and please remember that Samudragupta's southern expansions, uh, in a big way, that was made possible in that was success because of the Gupta navy. And since Samudragupta reached to the extreme point of south, the Sinhala emperor or king Meghavarman may have heard about Samudragupta's conquest and would have sent his embassies to offer his friendly relations with Samudragupta. Now we have names like frontier states like Samatata, which is about 120 kilometers east of Dhaka in modern Bangladesh. We have Kamrupa, modern Guwahati district. We have Devaka, which is Nagaon district, 120 kilometers east of Guwahati. We have mention of Shaho, Shehnashaho, or the Little Kushans, the remnants of Kushan Empire, which were ruling parts of western Pakistan and adjoining areas of Afghanistan, southern Afghanistan. They also sent their embassies to placate the Gupta emperor. So all these kingdoms became a subsidiary of the Gupta empire, and these kings and republican states, they were anxious to pay homage to Samudragupta by rendering satisfaction of the demands of uh, his imperial administration in the form of paying taxes, and it is named at Sarva Karadana, carry the Garuna Dhwaja. The Garuna Dhwaja is a standard of Garud, has the standard of Garuda or eagle, which was the royal emblem of Gupta Empire, and to pay homage to Samudragupta in person, Pranama Gamana, which is mentioned in the Prayagraj inscription, at its imperial darbar. Apart from this, they also send maidens uh, so that Samudragupta could marry these young women, and in a way the friendship between all these states and Samudragupta would be strengthened further by the marriage alliance. So now, philosophy of Samudragupta's war. So look at what was the philosophy behind Samudragupta's wars. And there's a word called Dharini Bandha mentioned in the Allahabad or Prayagraj inscription, suggesting Samudragupta's idea of bounding. The word is Bandha, the earth, Dharani, under a single paramount sovereign. So, earth in this case is not the earth which we know, its earth means the India, the geographical country of India in those days. And he concentrated his military power to the supreme mission of unifying the country. That is what I mentioned, the Dharani Bandaha, which is mentioned in the Prayagraj inscription. He may have subjugated and annexed the states which were closer to him, the nine king, kings of northern India, which I had just mentioned. But he had a different policy in respect to the states which were far off, the frontier kingdoms or the southern kingdoms. So the kingdoms of south were not annexed. it was allowed to govern on their own in lieu of acknowledging Samudragupta as their paramount sovereign. It would also mean that these kingdoms were paying taxes, and anything which the Gupta emperor demanded were taken care of by these kingdoms who were not annexed into the Gupta empire. So now we look at the personality of Samudragupta. So as a ruler, he was, and this I have taken it again. I'm repeating it. This is has been all has been taken from the Allahabad pillar inscription or the Prayagraj pillar inscription. So as a ruler, he was known for his vigorous and resolute government, aptly described as Prachanda Sashana, or a very strict form of governance. Strict would not mean any kind of difficulties to the people at large, but strict in the sense that there would be officials who would be looking at public grievances, and there would be less corruption, and people were given more independence to move from one place to another. And uh, just after Samudragupta's reign ended, uh, a Chinese pilgrim named Fahian came to India in about 399 CE, and he has described the society of India in those days, and which was very, very prosperous. Uh, and we would look at Fahian's travels as well in our future episodes. So this is what Prachanda Sashana was. As a conqueror, he was not moved by a lust for the conquest or annexation for its own sake. He was a Digvijay and a Dharma Vijay in accordance with circumstances. So, friends, we have seen lots of kings and emperors in Indian history, particularly in the last 1,000 years, who would just try to annex a kingdom for the sake of it, uh, perhaps to break a few temples or to kill the non-believers, etc., etc. But Samudragupta's conquest, as I had mentioned just before, he was a Digvijay in North India, where he annexed the kingdoms of various kings. But in the south, he was a Dharma Vijay, and as per even Kautilya in Arthashastra, talks about Dharma Vijay as the best form of Vijay or the best form of victory. Ashoka in his inscriptions also talks about Dharma Vijaya, which according to him is again the best form of Vijay, where you could win the hearts of people. So this is what Samudragupta was. He was both. He was a Digvijay. He used his arms, but he was also happy to conquer a kingdom and give back the kingdom to the defeated kings. That is what Dharma Vijay was. Dharma Vijay is, and he was governed by the circumstances. And as described before, the kingdoms which were far off from his domain, they were conquered, but allowed they were allowed to rule independently. But the kingdoms which were near to it were near to Samudragupta's sorry empire, original empire, were annexed. So he was moving or he was uh, moving as a Digvijay and as a Dharma Vijay as per the circumstances. So as he's concentrated his military powers to the supreme mission of unifying the country. I had described that before. It means Dharma Vijay or Dharam Vijay and Digvijay and Dharani Bandha. That word Dharani Bandha. So his reputation spread abroad as King of Kings, who reinstated the defeated kings and created a new order of peaceful partnership. That is what he had done with the kings of the south. He restored many Aneka kings not merely their properties, but kept his offices, Yukta Purushas, constantly employed, Nitya Vyaparita, on his work of restitution. So it would be very difficult for a king to give back the kingdoms of the defeated kings, because his soldiers, he would also have been affected, in the sense that many of his soldiers would have been killed during the war. So it would have been very, very difficult to placate the soldiers and the generals alike as to given back the regions conquered. And Gupta Empire had these offices, or these people called Yukta Purushas, who were employed in the work of this giving back the kingdoms of the defeated kings. And as a warrior, he fought in the front ranks, and his body was full of scars of arrows, swords, barbed dart, iron club, javelin, scimitar, battle axe, etc. And these injuries and these scars were like marks of decoration and beauty. And that is why uh, in the Harisena's words, Samudragupta has also been called Samaras Tata, that is a hero of 100 battles. He fought that many battles. The Iran stone inscription now describes him as the possessor of prowess, Vikrama, which is invincible. And as a philanthropist, he was full of compassion for those who deserved it, the poor, the destitute, the lowly, the word is kripana, and the afflicted, the atura, giving hundreds of thousands of cows, or godana, as which is the highest form of charity possible for a person who believes in Hinduism. So this is what Samudragupta did with the poor and the destitute and the others. This is a very interesting photograph, and this is from Munshi Sadan and Mumbai. And if you could clearly look at, Samudragupta was not only a poet, he was not only a warrior, but he was a great musician as well. You could look at him sitting on a chair, and there is the Samudra legend on the coin. This is actually a coin of Samudragupta called the Liris type of coin. And sitting here in a couch, wearing his jewels, uh, his earring, dhoti, and playing veena, or veena is an musical instrument, and he was fond of playing this veena. He has also been called Kaviraja by Harisena, and he states that Samudragupta composed many volumes of poetry, but unfortunately, this is only we know about Samudragupta's poetry, because any poetry which he may have written is lost to us permanently. As per Harisena, he ruled in the realms of letters, Vidvaloke, as in that of politics, enjoying another kingdom of fame. His mind was full of bliss, Sukhamanaha. He was fit for the congress of sages, a master of inner meaning and tattva of shastras. So here we could see that Samudragupta was not only an able administrator, a great warrior, but he was also a great pandit of shastras, of philosophy. He was also a great musician, and he was also a great poet. In fact, Harisena calls him Kaviraja, or the king of poets, as per his poetry. And Samudragupta is not alone. We have mentions of Samudragupta, his son, his grandson. We have people like Harsha. We have people like Raja Bhoj. We have people like Krishnadev Raya, the great Vijayanagar emperor. They were not only administrators, able administrators, or great warriors. They were also great patron of arts. They also wrote plays like Harsha. He wrote Ratnavali. We have Raja Bhoj. We have Krishnadev Raya, sorry, who wrote Amyukta Malyada, a great poem which describes the marriage of Vishnu and Lakshmi. And so all these things were not actually started by Samudragupta. There were kings earlier as well, Rudradaman, for example. So there was a softer touch to these people as well. Samudragupta just was following in some of the great tradition left by other kings, and his tradition was followed by other kings up to 17th 18th centuries. So this is about Samudragupta's personality. In the next part, or the which would be the last part on the biography of Samudragupta, we would look at especially the coins, the various coins minted by Samudragupta. They are in gold and they are in silver as well. So, and we would look at the natural progression of coins just before Samudragupta and how it changed during the times of Samudragupta. So I thank you all for your comments and your observation. Please let me know how you find this episode, and please connect with me on Twitter. Uh, my username I have given it on description dialogue. You can connect with me on Twitter. Any questions, anything you want to know, please let me know. So I thank you all, and we'll meet next time or next week to discuss on the coinage of Samudragupta. Thank you and goodbye.